Welcome back. I'm Imana, and this is the Dandelion Chronicles, where we explore healing, faith, growth, and the beauty that can emerge from life's hardest seasons. Before we begin, I want to thank you for walking with me through season 1. Thank you for listening, reflecting, healing, and growing with me. Now, let me ask you something. What is growing from your roots? Not your image or accomplishments, or even what people think about you. What is growing from the unseen parts of you? Because roots determine what grows. And whether we realize it or not, every single one of us is planting gardens through our wounds, our healing, our words, our fears, our love, our choices, our patterns, and even our presence. And eventually, those seeds multiply far beyond us. When I first began observing dandelions, I saw resilience. I saw something beautiful, surviving in difficult conditions. But over time, the lessons became deeper. The dandelion taught me that growth is not just about what people see above the surface. Growth begins at the roots. And if the roots are wounded, poisoned, unstable, or neglected, eventually those unhealthy roots affect everything growing around them. I think many of us spend our adult lives trying to get over the wounds of our childhood, wounds that we never fully examined. But we keep moving forward without understanding what is still growing underneath us. And eventually, those roots reveal themselves through fear, people-pleasing, unhealthy attachments, shame, anger, emotional instability, validation seeking, abandonment wounds, and repeating painful patterns. Because wounded roots reproduce wounded gardens. I remember once while I was meditating in a park, God spoke to me clearly and told me, go to your roots. And that instruction changed my life. Because up until that point, I had been trying to move forward without truly digging deeper. I wanted healing without excavation. I wanted peace without fully confronting what shaped me. And now I realize this is why certain unhealthy patterns kept repeating themselves in my life. I was trying to heal the branches while ignoring my roots. So I listened and I dug. The first place God led me to was back to my mother. And up until that point, for a couple of years, I had gone no contact because our relationship felt deeply toxic. But I felt led to call her, and for the first time in my life, I shared my truth without fear. I told her that rejection for me started before I was born, that I never truly felt wanted, that her actions and resentment toward me affected me deeply throughout my life. I also told her something else. I forgave her. Then I listened to her. She told me she believed that I was a bad child, that she thought she spoiled me way too much, that if she had another child, she was afraid that I could have harmed that child. And those revelations hurt me deeply. But instead of reacting, I listened. I told her something that I had finally come to understand about myself, that I was a whole ball of chaos because I was born out of chaos. I wanted us to start over, not pretending that the past never happened, but allowing an honest mother-daughter relationship to grow organically from truth and healing. However, she told me she couldn't forgive me for what I had done, and she rejected my offer. But I wasn't surprised, nor was I devastated, because I realized something important. Healing doesn't require reconciliation. Sometimes healing means telling the truth, extending grace, and releasing yourself from needing a specific outcome. I had done my part, and I remain open if she ever chooses to reach back. But after that conversation, I kept hearing, dig deeper. So I did. And miraculously, after not speaking to my father for far too long, for more than 20 years, I found him with one phone call. And the excitement that I heard in his voice gave me so much joy. And our first conversation that lasted for hours healed me so much. And slowly, we are beginning to build a loving and healthy relationship. But my digging deeper didn't stop there. I realized that I kept visiting my childhood homes. I never really felt what I called closure. So I revisited each childhood home I could remember. I honored that little girl who survived the chaos, the rejection, instability, confusion, and emotional wounds that she could not yet understand. And honestly, that experience was so emotional in ways that I can't fully explain. I finally was able to heal most of my childhood wounds from those interactions. I think most adults are still carrying wounded versions of themselves through their lives while pretending they are fully healed, trying to love, trying to parent, trying to build relationships, and trying to grow, while deeply wounded roots quietly continue shaping everything. But something began changing in me after I started truly healing those roots. The unhealthy patterns that once ruled my life slowly began disappearing. I began responding, loving, communicating, and seeing myself differently. Not perfectly, but I saw my life with purpose and intention. One of the reasons I named this episode The Gardens We Leave Behind is because seeds multiply exponentially. One seed becomes many. One dandelion can release dozens of seeds into the wind, and those seeds begin entirely new gardens. And spiritually, our lives work the same way. Pain, fear, bitterness, and trauma spread, but healing spreads also. One healed person can change an entire family. One emotionally healthy parent can shift generations. One truthful conversation can interrupt cycles that existed for decades. And that gives me hope because many of us are not planted in healthy soil. Some of us inherited fear, shame, rejection, emotional instability, silence, survival patterns, and generational wounds. But healing allows us to stop reproducing the pain we inherited. Healed people plant healed gardens. The more I observe creation, the more I realize God's wisdom is everywhere. The dandelion grows through cracks. Trees remain rooted during storms. Birds trust provision daily. Flowers bloom without competing with one another. Creation simply becomes what it was created to be. And I believe humans complicate life because we spend so much time disconnected from ourselves, stillness, truth, nature, and God. But when we slow down long enough to observe creation, we begin seeing reflections of ourselves everywhere. And the more I learn about God, the more I learn about myself. One of the greatest lessons that this season has taught me is healing is an ongoing process. We never fully arrive. There will always be a deeper understanding, new lessons, more healing, more wisdom, and more truth to uncover. And that's beautiful to me because it means we remain teachable. This podcast began as a reflection about dandelions, but it became something much deeper for me. It became evident that God can use pain, observation, healing, surrender, honesty, stillness, and our lived experiences to illuminate truth. And I hope somewhere throughout this season, my stories brought comfort, reflection, healing, or understanding to someone listening. Because that's all I ever wanted, to plant seeds that nourish and heal. At the end of the day, we all leave something behind. The question is, what kind of gardens will grow because we were here? Will people inherit our fear, shame, bitterness, wounds, or instability? Or will they inherit our wisdom, healing, peace, compassion, truth, emotional safety, and most importantly, our love? Because seeds continue growing long after the one who planted them is gone. And maybe one of the greatest gifts we can give our future generations is our willingness to heal what was wounded within us, not just for ourselves, but for every single garden that grows after us. Thank you for walking with me through season 1 of the Dandelion Chronicles. Thank you for listening, reflecting, healing, and growing with me. If these episodes touched your heart in any way, I invite you to subscribe, rate, and share the podcast so that these seeds can continue spreading where they're needed. Because your story may become the seed that helps someone else bloom. I'm Imana, and this is the Dandelion Chronicles. Until next season, keep growing and search for the peace and the peace of God within you.